Being come to order, stand to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to declare the declaration of quorum. Public comment. So tonight, public comment is limited to the public comment period. That is, after we're finished public comment, there will be no more questions or comments. Keep this meeting moving. So, look over the agenda. If you have comments or questions, let's get it right now so that we can get through the meeting without interruption. And with that, we'll open it up with Peg to do the Hanover Trolley Trail. This one works as that one goes. Maybe you switch it to the bottom. There is one. Here. Line.
Good evening, I'm Peg Moulton, Laurel Woods. I'm the York County Rail Trail Authority, Heidelberg Trolley Trail Operating Committee representative for Heidelberg Township. And I usually do a monthly report. However, I missed giving my report in February, and then in March due to a schedule conflict. But I'm here tonight. But before I give my quick report, I have to publicly thank the Porter's Fire Company and also the York County Northern Regional Police for the help and assistance that they gave me on the morning of Friday, March 21st. And without them, I don't know if I would be here or my cats. So we all made it. We're thankful to all the neighbors of the community, Heidelberg Township, and Laurel Woods, and church community. But you need to know, thank you. But you need to know a little bit about what's going on in the trolley trail because it's very exciting. And it gives me a sense of normalcy to be able to report to this. We had our committee meeting on March the 18th. Lots of exciting things. The Gitz Road Run Connector is currently under construction with the same contract that we used in, for the Jackson Township portion. It's C.W. Craig Williams, and they're contracting and paving the portion now that crosses Gitz Run Road and will connect over to the G&W Railroad. Phase one of the Oil Creek restoration was completely finished last year, and that too will be paved probably by the end of the summer. It'll be finished. Phase two of Oil Creek restoration is happening right now as we speak. A big thank you to Heidelberg Township for your donation of the parcel, which will allow construction of the parking lot and the bridge over Oil Creek. That will eventually connect to the rail trail. Thank you. That will eventually. I'm working on my 3 minutes. Okay, that'll connect to the rail trail. So that's underway right now as well. We have a Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources grant that's going to pay for the parking lot improvement, including the landscaping of the place of the parking lot area and the bridge over the wetlands. I'm not touching it. Okay, thank you. So that's good. So we did get a grant from DCNR that will pay for the parking lot, which is wonderful. On March 18th, I had the privilege of taking a walk with a representative from the National Fish and Wildlife Federation from Washington, D.C. that gave us money, as well as 2 representatives from Dickinson College who are going to be doing ongoing studies and monitoring of the restoration of Phase 2 of Oil Creek. So what that means is that, and these are PhD level students at Dickinson who that learning took before images and samples of the water and the vegetation and the critters that are in the Oil Creek in that section that we have not restored yet. And they'll be monitoring it pretty much several times a week until it's finished being completely restored. So those folks are, I mean, it's very exciting to know that we've received the attention of Dickinson College, grant from DCNR, and also grant from National Fish and Wildlife. This is a really exciting, nationally recognized now project right here in Heidelberg Township, and showing what can be done. So thank you to everybody who's been so supportive of this. The other good news I'm going to share is that close to National Trails Day, which this year is June 7th, and we're talking about Thursday, June 5th, we will have a combination ribbon cutting for the part of the Hanover Trolley Trail that's been completed in Heidelberg Township, as well as a groundbreaking of the part that we're working on now. So that'll be a combination event, and I will give you more details then, but we're working out logistics of parking and transferring people that can't walk the mile back to the Oil Creek part, maybe with a gator or something like that, but we're working on all of those details, and I will surely share all of that at the May meeting. So thank you so much for supporting me personally in my time of need, but also supporting the efforts of the Hanover Trolley Trail development.
Thank you, Pat. Next up is, Meg. Oh, no, okay. Cindy.
Can I have that?
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Sandy Stein, and I'm a representative of the Heidelberg Township Rec Association, and it's the charity. I'm here once again to ask the Board of Supervisors to grant the charity to do the fundraising at the park. And the first thing I'd like to do is thank whoever made this sheet up, because a lot of what's on there are some things I'd like to address in my 3 minutes. What structures can be named as far as the naming rights go? Pretty much all the questions on here have to be answered by the supervisors. We can draw something up for you to look at, but anything that is done at any time needs to be approved by the supervisors. We can give you ideas, we can give you suggestions, but ultimately, anything that's done is your decision. What we can do as far as the naming rights go, what could be named are the benches, the pavilion, the ball fields. We can do research on vendors who supply plaques. We can get the sizes, the prices, the styles, and we can give everything to you. Like, you decide what you want, what you don't want, and that's what we would give to possible sponsors. Only what you approved. As far as where the money goes, it would go to the charity for the rec board's use. Who tracks it? We would come to the rec board meetings and give show quarterly statements, the paperwork they need to see what's in it. And the part about why it can't be done internally, I was part of the original rec board, and the few months that I was on it, I think it was 9 months, there was absolutely nothing accomplished. I think the rec board was created to do something specific, which is advise the board, whereas the charity, their job is to fundraise. That's why I'm here asking you to please give us permission to do that. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Tim,
Yep.
I'll wait until all the other public comments have been made and then maybe address those.
Well, I don't want to go over this list tonight. This is the first time I'm seeing it, right? And I'm going to have to review it, and that's gonna happen too. Paul's, I'm sure Paul must have already seen it. Yeah, so. Send it down here, send it on the door, you have it. Don't we have it on the agenda to address this later on? Yeah, so we'll do that, but we're not gonna answer these questions tonight, I can't. I'm just seeing it for the first time. So with that, we're gonna open it up to public comment, 3 minutes, once again, everybody. This is the only time we're gonna have comments and questions, the whole rest of the meeting, there'll be none, so get it out now. Right back there. Yep, Vicki?
Hello, I'm Vicki Seneft. I am 6118 Dinner Drive. And I just came to ask the board if we could, a group of us volunteers would like to do some spring cleaning at the snack shop. Go in, clean it all. The baseball season started. It was so exciting to drive by there and see the teams and lacrosse teams and stuff out there on the fields. So I just came to see if we can get the key. However, we just want to clean everything, disinfect everything, kind of see if there's anything that we would need in there for anybody that would want to use it, and then I can take the list to the rec park board and let them know this is the things that maybe we could use, and then we could vote on it, and then get sponsors to pay for it. So that's, I just wanted to get permission to clean with some volunteers. And we're bringing our own cleaning products, so it won't cost the township anything, we'll bring our own cleaning supplies.
Okay, yeah, we're okay with it.
Thank you.
Yeah. You, yeah, Mike?
Mike Myers, and as chairman of the rec board, I dropped the ball there. I need to ask you guys for a 3-month extension on our rec board report for the ordinance. And it should have been in the ordinance or in the agenda, it was not, so I'm gonna ask that now.
Okay.
And then hopefully tonight's presentation on the charity clears up a lot of questions that were asked at the rec board meeting. And finally, I'd also like to read, or I read over the resolution 2025-04, and it appears to be very well written. And I honestly don't see any reason for any amendments to that. Thank you.
Is there more information on the charity? Or what you said presentation?
Well,
It was, yeah.
it wasn't as long as it.
Okay.
Hey,
All right.
Mike, I'm sorry. What resolution were you talking about?
The one that's listed on the agenda.
For,
The meeting ordinance.
The meeting ordinance, 2025-04.
okay, thank you.
In the back. Thank you. Now open the microphone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Hahn. I'm a Heidelberg resident since September of 2019. I'm asking the board to put some type of noise ordinance in place related to dog barking. I have a dog, a very large one. Her name's Ruby, German Shepherd, about 90 pounds. I let her out, she barks, but I don't want to be that neighbor that someone else has to come to and say, hey, your dog's barking too much, and I don't want to perform one of my neighbors that do the same thing. I went through every township ordinance that I could possibly do, from Heidelberg to Lebanon County, Heidelberg, Allegheny, Township of Washington, Warrenton Township, everyone, some types that have some type of an unreasonable dog barking noises ordinance in it. So again, law and order comes with law. I don't, unless you correct me, there's some type of an ordinance in the Heidelberg, which I couldn't find. Good neighbors, good fences make good neighbors. Good rules make good neighbors. I don't want to be the guy that has to knock. I don't want to be the guy that has to get knocked on. So I just asked for some type of cohesive policy drafted from similar to what other say, half an hour within 24 hours. Anything more than that is considered excessive. So that's what I asked. Again, I just don't want to be that guy who has to knock on somebody else's door or be knocked on, and I give my time somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you leave some of those example ordinances up here?
Absolutely. and maybe highlight as well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Some of them I didn't figure out the pronunciation. So they can have-
I will say that this is in my 20 years, that's come up many times,
Yeah,
and-
it just seems logical, is there
Yeah.
200 and some odd townships, every one of them, I found it in there.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry to step this
Thank
way,
you,
so
sir.
speaking.
No, thank you.
Thank you, and have a good night.
Okay, Renan.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Renan Castillo, 6826 Cannery Court. Just a couple of items, hopefully, oh, thank you for pointing the timer at me. So, number one, I just wanna ask a question and hopefully it can be answered after I step down. We were, at the last meeting, we were encouraged to ask questions instead of filing RTKs. I think that's a really good idea. We should ask questions. We asked the question of how it came about that Mr. King was missing from the last Board of Supervisors meeting, and we were told that he had been informed of the time, he had been given the option, and he said that he would be available at that time. And I just wanna ask the question of Mr. King, does that cohere with your understanding of what happened? And you can answer that, maybe in your own comment time.
It was not.
Okay, well, that's simple, that's straightforward. If it was not, then, again, it calls, this is the reason why we end up with RTKs, right? Is that, we are, now someone is going to ask the question, well, what emails were sent? Is Mr. King's lying? Is someone else lying? Right, and it's just very problematic when that happens. Hopefully, this is something that we can, get a hold of. Another question I wanted to raise was for Mr. Schultz. I asked a question last time, and I just want to be very clear on it. There are two mechanisms on the Sunshine Act, on their website, the Open Records Act, that essentially provide a way for people to speak to potential violations of the Open Records Act. One of them is to send an official notice with a very specific format, which is what I did. There are only two mechanisms. The other one is to essentially sue the township, which is something that hopefully you would be very interested in avoiding. And I was told, I should confirm that, I was told that it is the policy of the township to not respond to those letters. I just want to make sure that that's correct.
I don't know that anyone, I didn't tell you that it was not the policy of the township not to respond to your letters. You sent a letter in, you threatened certain legal action, and that, there was no response to be given. So, you're free to do what you need to do.
So just to be clear, it is not the policy of the township to not respond to those letters. It's just that in my particular case, there was no response that was possible or appropriate.
I don't know how to answer that. Probably yes, right? There's no policy not to respond to citizens.
Okay.
But when citizens send letters and threaten to sue us, we don't necessarily have a response.
All right. That's all that one first.
At Parish Off Road. This is regarding the dog thing that the gentleman was talking about. I looked up, and it's from December 7th, 2011. Signed by Tim Hansen, Mary Sterner, and Norma Markle. And it's page 7.19, pets keeping on. Paragraph B. No use shall involve the keeping of animals or fowl in such a manner or of such type of animals that it creates a serious nuisance, including noise or odor, a health hazard, or a public safety hazard. The owner of the animals shall be responsible for collecting and properly disposing of all fecal matter from pets. keeping of pets shall comply with all Heidelberg Township regulations relating to animals and other applicable health and safety codes, as well as any applicable state regulations. So I'm just wondering, is that still in force since it went back that far?
Yeah, so I sort of remember that.
Okay.
We went through this before, and I'll certainly look at that and relay that to the gentleman.
Okay, because I know we have a serious problem on my road with a couple of neighbors, and they'll be barking at 5 in the morning, 10, 11 at night, on the weekends for hours. I've called the police, but they're saying that we don't have anything on the township.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and we'll review that, and I'll review it with the Chief Lash, and with him, and we'll see.
Well, I've talked to
what we can
Lash,
use.
he's saying more movies.
Well, I'm glad you found that one, so that we're gonna look into it.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, yes. This guy was, all right.
So, Mark Hudak, 99 Porter's Road. With public comment again, here, Tim, you've changed public comment. You say no one, so I've been at these meetings. I've had a chance to look at some of them. You've allowed public comment during the meeting. Now, here I am, and no public comment during the meeting. We can't ask questions or anything. And really, you're not authorized to do that. You can't just allow certain people to talk and certain people not to talk. I think most people could say, well, I've been here, I've tried to speak up, and you told me I couldn't speak. So, you can't, and now you're revising this public meeting ordinance today. I talked to Mr. Schultes before. A letter was sent to a resident enforcing something that was clearly not legal, that she was recording at the meeting, which was her right. And she got a letter from the township said that she couldn't record and that she could be in violation of wiretapping laws. And that type of intimidation clearly is not a legal clause in the ordinance, but there it is. It's like, so here you are in this meeting. No one will speak during the meeting. Why do you think that's okay? You're changing your positions, you let this person talk. And clearly that ordinance out there isn't even legal. Because there's nothing, once one part of it's illegal, the whole thing's illegal. So it's not even enforceable, the public comment meeting as it's written. Do you agree with that, Mr. Schultes?
I'm not gonna get too, Mr.
Okay, I see. And, Matt, at the meeting you said with these rec board members, we had vacancies. And some residents showed up and said, hey, I'll fill those vacancies. And there was a big showdown at the meeting. I don't even know who these people are except Laurie. But you said that you vetted them, these people, and they weren't eligible for the rec board. But I'm like, well, why aren't they eligible to be on the rec board? If we're trying to bring the township together, it's not, and really it has to do with control, right, Tim? Because the rec board wouldn't have two individuals that are your friends, your buddies, people that would support what you asked for. Because at that meeting that was adjourned, you wanted to join the Spring Grove Recreation Board, right? That's exactly what was proposed at the rec board meeting. So, I mean, your attempt to act like there's some fairness in this township, there isn't fairness. You can't have people come up and say, some spouse of yours is out talking bad about someone else. That's not bringing a township together. Why hasn't the rec board done anything in 4 years? It's leadership. Leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Hudak.
I'm not done. I'm
Yes,
not
you're
done.
done.
We're not enforcing. If you're not enforcing, you're not enforcing.
You're out of order.
I'm out of order, but you're not enforcing it to other residents. And now you're enforcing it with
Recess the
me.
meeting, Mr. Hudak.
Recess the meeting.
Or are you done?
I'm not done. I'm not done.
Sit down.
No, I'm not sitting down. I just think that we need to focus on,
I make the motion to recess the meeting for 5 minutes. Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Paul make it?
No.
So you have to have a township that has standards. And honestly,
We just have cowards. That's what we got. We have
right, we
cowards.
don't have people that answer questions that are legitimate, right? We have zoning decisions that aren't valid, we have subdivision plans that aren't given to residents timely.
Without Paul, so we can have a meeting without them.
You know, we have people that are vetted out of the rec board, they wanna volunteer, but we don't allow them. Why don't we allow people to volunteer for this township? To go out and help do the rec
But
board?
they're not lining their pockets.
I don't know, but it's just not you wanna bring,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you are ridiculous. You are. What ridiculous is you? Be personal.
I'm not being personal. What did he say? I didn't hear one legitimate, one.
Don't we all deserve the right to talk? Yeah.
He disagrees with you.
3 minutes is 3 minutes. That's all I'm saying. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
But don't call him ridiculous. Again, you personalize it. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
He was heading.
and I'm trying to be a legitimate, resident saying, hey, here's an issue. I sent it out a month ago, no response. So what do? Just ignore my rights, my First Amendment rights to have, if this person's able to speak, am I able to speak?
He was walking to sit down. Stop it.
That's not even how the zoning ordinance is written. Read the ordinance, guys. Read your own ordinance.
Call the April Board of Supervisors meeting back to order.
Yes, my name is Richard Cook, and I live on Amdeva Road. First of all, kudos to the police and to the fire department. They're handling a house fire on Cannery Road as I was coming in tonight and keeping that situation taken care of because there are other houses that are very close. So if you see them, please give them a pat on the back. They're doing a fantastic job up there. Second thing, item number 13, water. You can address this at that time. And I'm sure Mr. Schultz has given you wise counsel on this. But my understanding is that there must be one customer on that advisory water committee. I'd like to know who that one customer is, because as I know at this time, there is no one. Next, Matt was not able to attend the meeting the other week, and so the meeting for that night was canceled. Next, Mr. King was unable to attend the meeting. I know why, I'm not telling you, that's none of your business. But he was not extended the same courtesy that Matt was. I think you need to rethink what you're doing. Because as it says in Proverbs chapter 1, you do what's right first, what's just second, and what's fair last. You did not do what was right, nor what was just. And the last thing, there's been talk about going under the Spring Grove Rec Board. I believe, if I understand correctly, it's been taken over by the YMCA. National policy of the YMCA is that biological men are allowed in the women's locker room and biological women are allowed in the men's locker room.
Now, I know a number of you have children, grandchildren, and I'll tell you, if my daughter was still young, I would not want to be in a position where a biological male could go in the girls' locker room where she was. I'd be standing outside that door with my arms crossed, challenging any man that wanted to. And being a member of the Y, I know for a fact, twice now, biological men have been in the women's locker room. They are not happy about it. I am not happy about it. But if you go under Spring Grove's rec board, that will become the policy for everything Heidelberg Township. And I don't know if you want that or not, but I would think very carefully. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
It's Oswald, Jake Snow Road. Got questions over at item 13 and 14, not so much a question of 14. The motion to approve on 14 gives us some kind of description of what this motion is even about. Where on 13, for the water committee, or not the water committee, but the water, the motion to approve a resolution 2025-05, second resolution amending resolution 2024-07 regarding the ADHOC Advisory Water Committee. The motion must specify one of the three resolutions listed below. It's saying extended term, extended term, extended term, with 5 members, 3 members. We need to know what you're even referring to. You're gonna make a motion, and you have to pick one of the 3, but yet we have no idea what the 3 mean. I'm hoping we can get some answers on those when we get to that.
Yep.
Rob Meek, 6125 Gardner Road. We had a question for the township in general. 13 months ago, I applied for a preschool, to run a preschool out of our house. We applied for a special exemption or a variance to go from 6 children to 12 children. It cost me at that time $1,000.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I can't hear him. There's another conversation.
At that time, it cost me $1,000. I went before the zoning board last month. Basically, I'm gonna try the process over again. I'm gonna hire an attorney. I called the township on Monday. I talked to Chris. He's told me he wasn't in charge at that time, but now the township is charging me $2,000. Is that right? Where does that come from? Because if I look at the ordinance, it says for residential, it's $1,000. For commercial, it's $2,000.
Is it a commercial daycare?
It will be if I get approved. But 13 months ago, they charged me $1,000. Just looking for some consistency. I pay what I gotta pay, but if I paid $1,300, $1,000 13 months ago, and now you guys want $2,000 to do the same process.
I thought there was a refund that was going to be processed for Mr. Meeks. Somebody on a zoning application was refunded.
That's his paper, but he wasn't refunded.
Oh, it didn't happen?
He wasn't refunded, he just didn't get charged more because he went over.
Oh, okay.
But we can't hear. We can't hear. We can't hear.
Let us review it.
Okay, yeah, you got my email.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the sooner I know, the sooner I can write the township a check, and we're gonna go forward with it, so.
Okay. Let's review it.
Okay.
We'll see what we can do.
And Chris has my email, so.
Yeah, my personal feeling is we should pay, the first time, we shouldn't have to pay the full, the 2,000 the second time.
Well, that's all I told
Let me see.
Well, I was full aware to pay $1,000, because I know it's, you know, you have the meeting and that's it. Now, and then Chris emails me, says it's 2,000, I called him and, no, it's 2,000 because you're applying for a commercial, you'll be a commercial. But I'm a residential now, so I don't understand.
All right, let us look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Kara?
Tara Wenzel, Deacon Road. I have several comments tonight. The first one, I want to reiterate what the comments about the dog noises were. I don't know if you remember, but when we first moved in, back in 99, 2000, there was a request for rezoning of a neighborhood parcel to put in a dog lot. And the neighbors on our street came in and made recommendations that this would not be a good thing because of the noise. So there is precedent for having that noise ordinance for having pets out all day. So I'll limit my comments to that. Second question I have is, the first time this happened, I ignored it to be cooperative. Now that it has happened again, it just seems like it's blatant carelessness. I was looking at the draft minutes for last month's meeting, and if you're gonna put residents' names in there, considering the fact that we have to sign in, please make sure those names are spelled correctly. This is the second time it's happened, and there's no excuse for it. Third comment I will make is on, I have a question. When I was part of the Park and Rec Board, our marching orders early on were given that the Park and Rec Board was the voice to the supervisors, the Board of Supervisors. That working with the 501c3, they would come through the Park and Rec Board, and then the Park and Rec Board would make recommendations to the supervisors. Has that changed? Because I've seen a couple times now where the 501c3 has come up and made recommendations, and my question is, has that changed, that policy changed, that we were told when the board was first put together? Lastly, and I'll keep this one short, some comments on the resolution. I went through the resolution pretty carefully, and some comments on that. If you look at page 1, paragraph 2, it conflicts with item 11 that states that residents might be deferred to the next meeting if the meeting goes long. That's not right. This is the only time we have to speak before you all vote. And since we are now limited to public comment time, we need to have our time to speak. So being deferred is not an acceptable solution. Page 2, the second paragraph that starts with "at the discretion of," based on Paul's recommended change for that, which is coming up later, does that mean a resident would not be kicked out of the meeting like Ms. Moulton was? So it talks about the meeting being adjourned altogether. So that would be a question on that one. Page 3, the public participation. There was a comment on there about residents having to sign what they want to say in public comments when they sign in. We don't have to do that. I was not given a full 3 minutes on that. Public participation, item 8 on page 3. The draft was written across the whole thing.
You had 3 minutes.
No, I had a minute left, and then all of a sudden it went to 0. I don't know why. I was watching the time very carefully, but I had 1 minute left. Thank you. There was a comment on there about residents having to sign in on the sign-in sheet what they want to bring up at public comment period. We don't have to do that. There's nothing in any of the laws that says we have to do that. Item 8, we couldn't read the whole thing because the draft is spread across it, and some of those are very important for us to be able to read. The same thing applies with the relating to motions and voting page on page 4. That's a very important thing for us residents to be able to see, and because the draft is spread across it the way it is, we can't see. So while we appreciate these drafts being put out there, it would be nice if we could read them. Then the talk about redundancy on item 9. As was brought up earlier, if the supervisors don't respond to a resident's question, the only recourse we have is to bring it up again at another meeting. So we should have that time.
Next. Yep.
Hi, good evening. Grace Elsner, 894 Laurel Woods Lane, Heidelberg. My husband Rusty and I are here to commend Fire Chief Walker, Porter's Fire Company, and Northern Regional for saving everything that they could at 855 Laurel Woods Lane. It was devastating for Peg and Doug, and it truly could have been disastrous. The winds were up to 39 miles an hour with embers flying. We had trees alighting between homes in several parts of the development, and were it not for their quick and heroic actions, we could have lost that whole hillside. So we just wanted to come and say thank you and put that on record, and please pass along the kudos.
We will do that, thank you. Next is right now, putting out another house fire. So it's been a rough year, and we certainly appreciate our men in action. Thank you. Okay. Yes.
Okay, Becky Strauss, Hilltop Drive. So I'm just gonna go over some of what Mark had said. You telling us that we can't talk, how are we supposed to know what to speak about when we haven't heard everything you guys have had to say in this thing? That's why it's nice to be able to comment when it comes up. And then what was talked about the Parks and Rec Board, about the why. I don't understand how anybody would want that, and I am the same with him. I'm gonna be standing outside the door, and it's pretty disgusting to me that you guys are allowing that. How Rannon asked Paul if he was made aware at the last meeting, and he wasn't. Again, we have to go by what you guys are saying and take it with a grain of salt. Last time it was spoke about Hamady Road, it's not in here, about changing the speed limits. Matt was like, oh, it's your lucky day, we can get that changed, but it hasn't. And I know that there's a street sweeping thing that wants to be approved, maybe that needs to be taken over to Hamady Road too, because there's all kinds of loose stones. And when people are racing down that road, I drive my bus there every day. I go down at 20 miles an hour, and guess what? I do it just fine. Anybody else can. There are kids walking to that bus stop every day, and then walking home. It's not fair to the kids, it's not fair to the residents on that street. And like the right to know request, I see in here that you guys have received 7, but you guys didn't complete any of them. Again, that just doesn't seem fair to me, and how you got Mr. Schultz, sorry, I don't know if I said that, Schultz, you said that you're not gonna respond to letters of threats. I mean, we're all adults. If you feel threatened, you can write that back saying, I'm sorry, I feel threatened, I'm not gonna respond to this, but it still should have been responded to. It's just appalling the way things are going on. It's sad, really.
We're gonna take a break here for a minute. Okay, we're ready to continue the meeting. Motion to approve March Board of Supervisor. I'm done with public comment, folks. Jesus. We've been at it an hour.
So?
All right, in the back, in the back.
Because they adjourned it and not everybody got to speak.
We're all very interested in hearing what you have to say. Thank you.
I have a couple of things to say. This is my first township meeting. Oh, me. Michelle, and I live on, Michelle Gavon, and I live on Canterbury Road, across from where the firefighters are diligently working. There's a couple things I want to say. This is my first township meeting, and I appreciate the agenda, but it's lacking in detailed information to give a public comment on. Because you see these solicitation, you see these orders, you see all this stuff that's going to be brought up, but there's no detail behind it. And yes, I was at the Park and Rec meeting a while, the last one they had, when they were talking about the why. I have a couple of things to say. First of all, I live in a small town. I grew up in the city. I don't ever want to go back to the city. That's why I moved to a small town, country atmosphere, because I know what goes on here. And I don't like it. And I don't want that for my town. I'm speaking that from the heart. Another comment I'd like to say is, I have young kids. I have a young female. And when she was in middle school, yes, the boys were allowed in the girls' bathroom. And yes, she was attacked in the girls' bathroom. So do I approve of anything? No. If you have to have a public restroom, they make it one stall with a locking door, because I've seen them at campgrounds where they make one stall locked and nobody else can go in. You gotta think about safety for our kids. We're the last stance for them. I don't care what you believe in, I don't care I don't care. I just think that they're vulnerable. And if you open up a door to that vulnerability, they can get hurt. And my daughter has gotten hurt. Our family has gotten hurt. And that's a lot to overcome, because no child should be able to go to the bathroom in peace and nothing happen to them. And I don't publicly speak about this for her privacy. So that's what I have to say about that. Second, I don't think from a small town perspective that we should be paying anybody to do anything. We are farmers, we are homeowners, we are families. Let's rise up. I know nobody wants to volunteer. I know times have changed. But you know what? I think there's enough people in the community that want to step up and be supportive and have a voice. We just don't know how to have that voice or when to have that voice. But I think if you get out there and you start talking to people and start seeing why they love our town, why they want to be here, why do they move here, and you're going to find out that, you know, if it's a matter of them stepping up or going back, then they're going to step up.
Thank you very much.
I would like to follow up with some more information about the 501c3. You should have in your paper packets a front and back page, which was also available to the public at the assignment, that has some information about what it is that we are suggesting for the fundraisers. Also has information for the fundraisers that are township enabled, meaning we need your assistance and agreement to these portions. We do have some charity, so independent of the supervisors, we have a fundraiser that is in planning for the summer, another that's in discussion for the fall. But you should have this paper in your packets. Also in your packets, the paper packets, there's a 2-page resolution from the charity that sort of defines who we are and talks about how we handle funds and gives our background, and including all of our organizational documents that should answer any questions that you have. All of the organizational documents were my understanding is that they were provided to you electronically, so please look into your electronic habits to see all that. As far as there has been talk about needing to have a formal agreement with you all that specifies certain parameters, I would love to have that. And I would say that if we can discuss those things, or if you guys can talk about what you want out of that, give me the information and I will put up a proposed agreement. As far as what to be named, we put that in the packet. There's 2 baseball fields, a lacrosse field, the concession stand, pavilions, and playground. How long would that be? Basically what that would depend on the market, what they're asking for. But my sense would be the engraved bricks would be a permanent thing. The naming of plaques, the name plaques for the benches and picnic tables would be for the life of that equipment. Naming of the baseball fields, probably 10 years if it's a significant amount, like $10,000. Anyway, I'd like to discuss all the parameters.
Maybe the thing to do is to respond to each of those things at your meeting, discuss it, and then provide that information back that we can distribute to the public to answer these questions.
All right, well, I would like to have your input as to what you want. That's what I'm asking for. And I will put something together. Thank you.
very much.
Thank you. Are we done?
Hi, I'm Lori Van Tassel at 6826 Kennery Court. I guess what I am hearing, is kind of often we have conflict within kind of two different ways of approaching our township. And on one hand, we have people who want to keep the township rural. And then we have another group who say they want it rural, but are considering spending $27,000 a year, whether it's raised through a 501c3 or not, from cannibalizing our local assets, for 3 years. That's a contract of 3 years. To a organization that is, if you look on their website, you will see that they are quite progressive and not what the people I know and represent want in this township. I just find it fascinating that we are still even talking about this. I mean, to raise, to give naming rights to a 501c3 so they can then raise money to pay to the YMCA so they can run programs, strangers can run programs in our park. I just find that hard to believe. And I don't think anyone here in our township would support that. So I really wish you would consider not moving in that direction. The other thing I just quickly want to say is that if you don't want to come and listen to what the township has to say, then you shouldn't be doing the jobs that you're doing. We have conflict because we are not being listened to, and that is about leadership. I don't think any of you, except for Paul, has ever tried to talk to me about my perspective. Was I supposed to come to you privately? Without a public comment at the beginning and at the end of the meeting, and throughout, that's the only way you're ever going to know what people think.
Thank you, Lori.
You are representing us. Give this back to you.
Anybody else? Okay.
Make the motion to approve the March Board of Supervisor meeting minutes.
Amendments to the minute.
Go ahead.
Under public comment, after Becky Strauss, and the last word, in there is meeting, we would add, and why hold a meeting without Paul? Tim Hansen responded, it was decided by a majority vote. Matt stated, Paul was given 3 times, 10, 12, 2. He picked 12. We don't know why he's not here.
Yeah. I don't have a comment on that. There was confusion, I suppose. I'm not sure, Paul. I do recall you saying you couldn't make any daytime meetings. That's what I recall. But I'm not willing to change the minutes. Matt, are you willing to change the minutes? No. So, once again, I ask for a second for approving the March Board of Supervisor meeting minutes.
I have another amendment. Under upcoming meetings, after Chairman Timothy Hansen, last word requester, this would be added, that all of the RTKs are done to harass the township. The majority are done by 2 people. That 90% of all RTKs are done to harass the township. Majority are done by 2 people.
What do you want me to change?
That gets added.
No, we have what's called action minutes, and that's not on there was no action taken. Once again, do I hear a second to approve Board of Supervisors March minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Communication, motion to issue a proclamation on around Memorial Day to acknowledge Civil War veterans' final resting place in Porter's Cemetery. That was presented by Terry Lynn Ross. Do I hear a second for that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Motion to approve Resolution 2025-09, adopting York County 2024 Hazard Mitigation Plan. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Acknowledge receipt of letter from PennDOT stating project starting March 31st, 2025, consisting of high friction surface treatment, asphalt resurfacing, line painting, advanced warning countermeasures, and sign updates on Route 3072, that's the Mousetown Road, from Gitz Run Road to Colonial Valley Road in Heidelberg Township, and continue from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mondays through Saturdays. That's acknowledging that letter. Acknowledge receipt of the letter from York County Rickshaw Authority expressing a sincere appreciation for the recent donation of the 12-acre parcel of land along 116. Public safety, Chris is fighting a fire, so report, but there was a written report that we can provide. Nothing from Wellspan. And Northern Regional is not here tonight, so we don't have a police report. Planning Commission, I'd like to acknowledge the receipt of the zoning activity report and acknowledge receipt of the code enforcement officer report. Finance, motion to approve March treasurer's report. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Motion to approve March bills paid report. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Right to know requests, received 7 and completed 0 in March.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question about right to know requests.
Yes.
So I submitted 5, and one of the ones I submitted was to request the email that was sent to the advertising company, the newspaper, that advertised the change of the time of the meeting. Under the minutes that Tim and Matt just approved, it states under Chairman Hansen in upcoming meetings, he otherwise told simple request to be he has directed the office staff to provide to the requester simple requests. This is an email. They're now making me wait 35 days to get an email. You know why? Because the email says that they did know. So, Mr. Chairman, per the minutes that you just approved, would you instruct the staff to give me that email tomorrow?
I will not. Acknowledge receipt of the road maintenance report and acknowledge receipt of the March 2025 engineer report. Recreation. Motion to approve the recommendation from the Rec Board to allow Heidelberg Township Recreation Association 501c3 to sell naming rights of various structures within the Larry Sterner Memorial Park to potentially pay for the 2026 Spring Grove Regional Park and Rec Center fees and building funds. So my comment before we do a second on that is it's not necessarily going to be used. They certainly have I support the selling of the naming rights. This is done by many other townships, if not all the old townships that have parks. I do believe that there are questions that need answered. Those questions will be answered at the next, at the rec board meeting. I think they can be answered there rather than here by the people that know better than Matt and I and Paul. But I am willing to make the motion to approve that. Do I hear a second?
Am I under the understanding that the rec board, am I under the understanding that the rec board is in favor of this as well?
Motion passed at the rec board meeting.
4-1, correct?
There were two motions that regarded raising funds, and this is one of them. But the other motion was, and because the discussion was, I was at the meeting, because the discussion was, if we don't join and you pass this one, you've raised the money to join and you don't join, then what do you do with the money? The other motion recommendation that was passed by the rec board was more general, that they would be able to raise funds, period. So you can't take action on this because the second recommendation was not made to us to give a choice.
Well, the key word here is potentially, doesn't say will.
Yeah. Any funds raised by the rec board or the 501c3 go into the rec board park fund under the control of the township.
Unless they're specified for another purpose. That's the law.
That's true, but I don't think there's anything here that says it's specified for another purpose. However,
You cannot approve something without contracts, agreements, and dollar figures. Mr. Schultes?
So I was not at the rec board meeting, obviously. To me, this implicates a number of different structures. So you have the rec board itself, you have the 501c3, and you have the township. So 501c3 can clearly raise its funds for its own purposes set forth in its articles of incorporation. What it does with the money is kind of up to them. However, if they're going to involve the township, for example, if they're going to sell naming rights, then those folks who are giving money to the 501c3 for that purpose have a right that money be used for that purpose, right? The only person or entity who can spend that money for the park is the township. So at minimally, there needs to be an agreement between the 501c3 and the township to honor those naming rights contracts that we have.
Thank you, Mr. Schultes. I 100% agree with that. And I'd also like to add that there has to be some guidance on who can put up a banner. Do we want certain groups like BLM and other such groups, Latifa? Now I know I'm going to the extremes, but we have to have some guidance as to what can be on the fence, what banners who can participate in that. So we need some guidance as well.
based on the recommendation of the township solicitor, I'm going to recommend we table this motion. Do I hear a second?
I don't see a reason why we table discussion on starting and giving them the opportunity to work with us for naming rights. I don't see what the problem is.
I agree, you can start the process, but to approve, I don't think the township needs to allow the 501c3 to fundraise. They can fundraise. The question is, what are they gonna do with the money? So if they're fundraising for general purposes, that's one thing. If the program is to sell naming rights, again, that involves the township, so there has to be some agreement between the 501c3 and the township as to what to do with that money. It doesn't mean you can't move forward. You couldn't indicate an intent to move forward to develop that agreement in consultation with the rec board, with the 501c3, and this board. If that's the motion to move forward with that, that's.
But that's not how the motion's written.
So I guess my question would be to the rec board, what exactly do you want the township to approve?
Honestly, we just wanted to give the charity the option to start some of their fundraising ideas that they presented to us several months ago.
So if that's just general fundraising, that's terrific. If it's not, if it involves contracted naming rights that are binding on the township and the 501c3, then there has to be an agreement.
Well, we just wanted to give them the option to start seeing what kind of funding and who would want to donate to that before anything. I mean, anything that they would do would have to come back to the Board of Supervisors for approval, as far as that.
So they have also presented, may I address Mr. Chairman, they have also presented us with a plan to have a fundraiser here at the fire hall. They don't need our approval for that. I think that's the distinction. They can continue to fundraise, but it's the using of the township property in that effort. So that's why, reflecting back on the conversation at your meeting, that's why it was narrowed down to the general purpose of fundraising. And that was the first recommendation that you passed, and then you passed this one. So I'm just trying to.
Most of the questions that were, if not all of the questions that were asked at our meeting were addressed with this.
I would agree with that, and, yeah.
So, I mean, but if we don't, yeah.
So so besides the contract between the 501c3 and the township, I believe there has to be an agreement between the township and the donor. How long is the banner gonna be up there? They have to provide the banner. They have to provide the name. There has to be certain size requirements, etc. So I'm just saying there's not enough, again, to pick up on other people's observations. There's not enough specificity, and there's a conflict when it comes to this resolution and authorizing them to use township assets.
I think, if I may answer, I think that the main thing we were wanting to do is just give them the opportunity to do the legwork, to bring the donor to the township, if I understood that correctly.
Well, they said tonight that they're gonna be holding the money, and I've spoken with PSATs about it, and the chairman's right, other townships do this, but PSAT says the township gets the money.
Okay, we can motion that an agreement is developed. Correct? To allow the naming, to the right to sell naming rights. And then you'd have to put that agreement together at one of your meetings.
Okay.
And then come back. So that, let's do that. We'll make the motion to allow the rec board to make an agreement document that can then be used to sell naming rights.
Has to involve the township. If the 501c3 is going to be the fundraiser, that contract has to be between 501c3 and the township, and there has to be other agreements that go along with that. So when you sell a naming right, it specifies what it's for, how long it's gonna be there for, that kind of thing. So it contemplates a number of different agreements, but to your point, townships do this, they just do it under agreements.
Okay, so I think you guys need to think about this and come up with it, and then we're gonna have the solicitor review it before the next meeting. Yeah.
So the question is, and I agree with you that there needs to be an agreement between the charity and the board. And there needs to be agreements between the board and the sponsors. But, is it an efficient way to have, is it efficient to have your rec board and our charity try to put together a legal document that is gonna be very unlikely to pass legal muster?
That's why we'll have a solicitor review it.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
The office could contact PSAC and ask them for any draft agreements, or they could contact some of the local municipalities and see if they can get a copy of their agreement.
That's a good idea.
That would be very helpful.
Yeah, let's do that. Can agree on that. So you wanna make that motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay. Motion to approve recommendation from the rec board to approve the citizen survey and put survey online with a QR code and print out 200 copies with a citizen donation provided that survey amendments are completed. All right, so we are I am in favor of this. I think it's a good idea. What we want to do is receive the survey from the rec board, which I have not seen yet. We need to see that, and we need to approve that. And then what we'll do is the township will pay to send that survey out to every citizen in Heidelberg Township with return postage. So they can fill it out and they can send it back.
Judy has the survey, it has been sent back to them.
So I can, that's how we want to handle this. So the first thing was to approve the recommendation, to approve the citizen survey. Again, I have not seen it though, so.
Justin.
Let me ask this. Did the rec board approve the survey?
We did approve the survey, provided that it was amended properly, and I do believe it was.
So I'll make the motion to approve the recommendation from the rec board to approve the citizen survey, assuming the amendments were adopted. And instead of putting it online, what we want to do is we want the township to send it out again, and then all citizens will have the opportunity to fill it out and send it back in with return postage, paid for by the township. Do we hear it? What? That would come from the Park and Rec budget, yes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to approve a cross-field reservation for Paul King for an Easter egg hunt on April 13, 2025, from 3 to 6 p.m. Okay, Paul, so we can do this, but per our policy, you have to get your own insurance. You gotta get private insurance. You can't run a rider on the township. So we'll make it contingent on you getting that insurance. I also want to see proof, or actually licenses from any food trucks or vendors. That has to be submitted to the township to make sure they're legal.
Understood.
Okay. So I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Water. 2 outstanding water bills from Q4 of 2024. Second round of late fees sent out. Meters were read March 5th, 2025 for Q1 of 2025 bills due April 5th, 2025. Motion to approve Resolution 2025-05, second resolution amending Resolution 2024-07 regarding the Ad hoc Advisory Water Committee. The motion must specify one of the three. The three are on here.
So, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
This motion as written is a violation of the Sunshine Act. There's lacking specificity. Extended term, could be 1 week, 1 year, 10 years, it's not indicated. When I made the motion to expand the committee to 5 members, I had restrictions in there about alternate member and the new members added. So it's lacking specificity. No one, as had been previously commented, would know what to comment on.
The resolution does have the terms of each of these on
But that's not been given to the public to be able to comment.
it. It was put on the website, Paul.
That's
So,
violation of the Sunshine Act.
extended term per, I'll just do it this way, extended term, and what's the extended term for the first one?
Well, if you don't know, then how would they know?
It goes through December 31, 2028.
For all three?
For all three.
Okay. Motion to approve that extended term for 5 members and 1 alternate. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Want 5 members?
Well, wait a minute now.
Wait a minute here.
I don't know. He just seconded it. So you wanna vote it
I
down?
wanna keep 3 members and an alternate.
Okay, so you seconded that. Let's vote for the first one then. We're only gonna do 1. Right?
You can only do one.
If you don't know, how are they supposed to know?
So,
There's 3.
no, I'm just gonna make the motion to extended term. 3 members with 1 alternate. Do I hear a second?
3 members, 1 alternate, that's what I've been saying for a while.
Yeah, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, it's a violation of the Sunshine Act.
Motion to appoint an alternate member to the Water Committee.
We cannot appoint one tonight. As Mr. Schultes had pointed out to me when I tried to appoint new auditors, you had a option here of extended term without an alternate. You approved the one with an alternate. Finally, the public knows that there's going to be an alternate. They just learned that tonight. So other people could now apply to be the alternate member of the committee because up until now, they did not have that knowledge. So you cannot appoint the alternate tonight.
Motion to appoint an alternate member of the Water Committee, Glenn Longstreth. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Motion to approve Resolution 2025-04, Rules for Public Meeting, amending Resolution 2021-03. The proposed amendment amends rules relating to public comment, recording and streaming, and motions and voting. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Discussion. You got the same problem. Relating to the public comment. Well, what changes the public, was that the change you made tonight? What changes to public comment? Recording and streaming, what changes?
It is posted on the website. I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it was posted on the website, but not part of the agenda, correct?
It was posted on the website. It's on the agenda.
Without the internet?
We voted, Paul, what's your vote?
No.
All right. Chairman, nothing. Vice Chairman,
Was Ben able to get a hold of anybody up there at Board Deck? Okay. Did he have a preference, the non-CDL unit or they want the big one?
He didn't say, just the one was bigger, that's the only difference. The bigger one they can't get to.
So we'll go with the smaller one.
Can I ask the question? What's the sweeper for? What roads?
As many as we can get to.
Well,
Focusing on all the development streets where the stone problems are being relayed by the residents.
for 2 years now, and you voted against getting a street clean, sweeper 2 years ago, both of you did. Same road. So this is gonna go on Pamadeva. How about Mill?
I don't have any problems with Mill Road. Unless you do.
No.
Okay, be for the, rental of the smaller non-CDL unit for $4,100 for the end of May. And that would be for 1 week. Making that motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, the price wasn't specified in the agenda.
All right, Mr. Supervisor, since we've already approved 2025-04, amending resolution 2021-03, your first 1, 2, 3, 4 bullet items are new.
No, they are not. Just because you amended it, doesn't mean it can't be amended again.
Well, go ahead then, you're up.
So, let me take off the mute button. Rules of conduct, number 2, second paragraph. Amend to read, at the discretion of the supervisors, disruptive individuals shall be a reason to adjourn the meeting with a date set for a special meeting to finish the agenda of the meeting adjourned. As they have it in there now, he can have the person removed. Well, it's a resolution. It's not an ordinance. They can only ask somebody to leave. They can't remove them. Now, they might be able to be removed depending on how disruptive they are. But if it's just talking out of turn, they can't leave. They can do what they did tonight. They did it tonight, but yet they're gonna vote down this very amendment. So I make a motion to amend the second paragraph to read that disruptive individuals shall be a reason to adjourn the meeting with a date set for a special meeting to finish the agenda of the meeting adjourned. Motion fails due to a lack of a second. The next one, public participation. Number 8, 9, and 11. Eliminate them. They can't be enforced, they mean nothing. They can't do it. So why have it in there? And then number 3, eliminate the wording on that one after the word meeting. I make a motion that number 5, 9, and 11 be eliminated, and number 3, eliminate the wording after the word meeting.
Is there a second? Motion dies in lack of second.
Recording and streaming, add the following. The public should be aware that the township is recording the meeting. To use the recording in aid of recording minutes and having a record of any disruptive comments or behavior. I make that motion.
Do I hear a second? Motion dies lack of second.
Under voting, change 2. Voting is done one way, by members expressing either favor or opposition to the matter being voted on.
Do I hear a second? Motion dies in lack of seconds.
So I'm calling again for an executive session. I've sent a letter to the board, to the solicitor, to the manager, requesting the reasons for the executive session. I'm gonna add to it the change in public comment that occurred tonight was not discussed with me. I don't know if it was discussed with Matt, but the chairman shouldn't have the authority to unilaterally change public comment. There was nothing wrong with the way public comment was going. People were able to get their questions answered. Of course, he's had it with public comment tonight. So I'm asking for an executive session again.
Nope. Do I hear a second for that?
Second.
Motion dies in lack of second.
Okay, so I make a motion to rescind the unlawful action of the Board of Supervisors on March 12th, 2025, under the heading Finance in the agenda, to approve the joint municipal bid awards. As worded, no prices quoted and none stated on the agenda. No dollar amounts. This is a violation of the Sunshine Act and the second-class township code on bid requirements. So I went back to 23 and 24, March of 23 and 24, the agenda. The prices are in there. So why not this year? You can't approve something, you can't buy something if you don't approve the prices. I make a motion to rescind your action.
Do I hear a second? Motion dies in lack of second.
So you've already approved me for the egg hunt?
Yep. Provided you get your own insurance.
Okay,
And to get copies of licenses of any food trucks or other vendors.
okay, I'm done.
Upcoming meetings, planning.
Upcoming meetings, Planning Commission, April 9, 2025, 6 p.m. Township Building, that is canceled. Rec Board, April 15, 2025, 6 p.m. Township Building. Order Committee, April 23, 2025, 5:30 p.m. Township Building. Zoning Hearing Board, April 23, 2025, 7 p.m. Township Building. Board of Supervisors regularly scheduled meeting, May 7, 2025, 6 p.m. Porter's Fire Hall. I make the motion that we adjourn the meeting. Do I hear a second? All in favor? Aye.
I am not voting on any motion to adjourn the meeting because you two walked out in December without voting. You're not gonna have it both ways. I will vote on it. You correct the second lie you put in there about how that meeting ended. So, gotta go.
I think I will, I'm gonna go home with Vicky. Is she gone already? No. Vicky's gonna take us home.
Let me check with her.
Okay.
Well, I now understand that the new line of wool sweaters that Grace is going to put out, or Grace's sister's going to put out, is going to have this sort of woodsy burnt smell into it.
That's right. That's right. But it'll be baby wool.
You know, I bought a sweater when I was working out. Well, wool's always been the